The darkness broke like shattered glass as Jake Morrison's eyes opened for the first time in 300 years. Cold air rushed into his lungs, and the taste of metal filled his mouth. Around him, the cryogenic pod hissed and clicked as it finished its wake-up cycle. His body felt heavy, like he was made of lead, but his mind was sharp and clear. Jake tried to move his fingers first. They responded slowly, like they were learning how to work again. The pod's display showed green lights across the board. His vital signs were stable, his body temperature was rising, and his brain activity was normal. He was alive, which was more than he had expected when he first climbed into this metal coffin. The pod door opened with a soft whoosh. Jake sat up carefully, his muscles protesting after centuries of sleep. The room around him was exactly as he remembered it. White walls, clean floors, and the gentle hum of life support systems, but something felt different. The air itself seemed to carry a strange energy, like the moment before a thunderstorm. "Welcome back, Captain Morrison," said a familiar voice. Phoenix, the ship's artificial intelligence, spoke through the room's speakers. Her voice was warm and friendly, just like always. "You have been in cryogenic sleep for 312 years, 4 months, and 16 days? Jake's heart stopped for a moment. 300 years. That was not supposed to happen. Their mission was supposed to last only 6 months. They were testing humanity's first faster-than-light drive, not taking a trip through time. "Phoenix," Jake said, his voice rough and dry. "What happened to us? Where are we?" "We are currently in the Vega system, approximately 27 light-years from Earth," Phoenix replied. "Our faster-than-light jump created what I can only describe as a temporal anomaly. We have been displaced in both space and time." Jake stood up slowly, his legs shaking under his weight. The ship's gravity felt normal, which meant the artificial gravity systems were still working. That was good news. He walked to the nearest wall panel and pressed his hand against it. The screen came to life, showing him data he did not want to see. The year was 2387. Earth was gone, not destroyed, but empty. According to the ship's long-range sensors, there were no human signals coming from their homeworld. No cities, no ships, no radio transmissions, nothing. "How many crew members are still alive?" Jake asked. "All 50,000 crew members survived the temporal displacement," Phoenix said. "I am currently waking them up in stages to avoid overwhelming the ship's systems. Commander Hayes is already awake and waiting for you on the bridge." Jake nodded and walked toward the door. His body was getting stronger with each step. The corridor outside was long and curved, following the shape of the ship's hull. Emergency lights glowed softly along the walls, casting everything in a blue-white glow. The USS Valiant was 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. It was the largest ship humanity had ever built, and now it might be the last. The elevator ride to the bridge took 10 minutes. Jake used that time to think about what he would tell his crew. 50,000 people had trusted him to bring them home safely. Instead, he had brought them to a future where home no longer existed. The bridge doors opened, and Jake saw Lisa Hayes standing at the main display. She was tall and strong, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. Lisa had been his second-in-command for 5 years before the mission started. She was the best officer he had ever worked with. "Captain," Lisa said, turning to face him, "I've been reviewing our situation. It's not good." Jake walked to the captain's chair and sat down. The bridge was enormous, with dozens of workstations arranged in a circle around his position. Most of the stations were empty now, but soon they would be filled with his crew. "Show me what you found," Jake said. Lisa pressed the button, and the main screen filled with star charts. "We're in the Vega system, but it's not empty like it was in our time. There are structures here, alien structures. Space stations, mining platforms, and what looks like a small fleet of ships." Jake studied the display. The alien ships were sleek and silver, unlike anything humans had ever built. They moved in perfect formation like a school of fish in space. "Have they detected us?" Jake asked. "Not yet," Lisa said. "Phoenix has been running silent since we arrived. But Captain, there's something else. I've been monitoring their communications. They're not speaking any human language, but Phoenix has been working on translation. The screen changed to show intercepted alien messages. Phoenix's translation appeared as text at the bottom of the screen. Jake read the words and felt his blood turn cold. They're talking about humans in the past tense, Jake said. Like we're extinct. That's right, Lisa said. According to their records, humanity died out over 200 years ago. They've divided up our old territory among themselves. Earth is now controlled by something called the Galactic Council. Jake stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. Through the massive windows, he could see the alien ships in the distance. They looked peaceful enough, but Jake knew that could change quickly. "What's the status of our weapons?" he asked. "All systems are operational," Lisa replied. "Our plasma cannons are charged, our torpedo tubes are loaded, and our shields are at full strength. Captain, our weapons are 300 years more advanced than anything these aliens have. If it comes to a fight, we can handle them." Jake nodded slowly. The USS Valiant was not just an exploration ship. It was also a warship, built to defend humanity against whatever they might find in the darkness between stars. Now it seemed like humanity needed defending from their own future. "Wake up the senior staff," Jake ordered. "I want all department heads on the bridge in 1 hour. And Phoenix, start a deep scan of the alien ships. I want to know everything about them." "Understood, Captain," Phoenix said. Jake looked out at the stars and wondered what had happened to his species. Somewhere out there, in the vast darkness of space, the truth was waiting for them. And Jake Morrison was going to find it, no matter what the cost. The bridge of the USS Valiant buzzed with quiet activity as the senior staff gathered around the main conference table. Jake Morrison looked at each face, seeing the same confusion and worry that he felt inside. These were the best officers humanity had ever produced, and now they were all that remained of their civilization. Alex Turner, the chief engineer, spoke first. He was a big man with calloused hands and a practical mind. "Captain, I've checked every system on the ship. Everything is working perfectly. Our fusion reactors are at full power, our life support can run for another 1,000 years, and our weapons are ready for anything." Dr. Susan Clark nodded from across the table. She was the ship's xenobiologist, an expert in alien life forms. Her job had been to study whatever they found in deep space. Now it seemed like she would get that chance sooner than expected. "I've been analyzing the alien communications," Phoenix intercepted. "Their language is completely unlike anything we've seen before, but there are patterns. They seem to have multiple species working together." "How many species?" Jake asked. "At least 12 different language groups," Susan replied. "They call themselves the Galactic Council. From what I can understand, they've been running this part of space for over 400 years. Lisa Hayes leaned forward. "Captain, we have a problem. The alien ships are moving closer to our position. They haven't spotted us yet, but they're conducting what looks like a patrol sweep of this system." Jake stood up and walked to the main display. The screen showed the alien fleet in detail. There were 6 ships, each about half the size of the Valiant. They moved in a precise formation, their silver hulls reflecting the light from the nearby. "Star, what are our options?" Jake asked. Ryan Cooper, the chief of security, cleared his throat. He was a quiet man who always thought before he spoke. "We could try to hide, but this ship is too big to stay hidden for long. We could run, but we don't know where to go. Or we could make contact and see what happens." "Contact could be dangerous," Lisa said. "We don't know how they'll react to finding humans alive." Jake studied the alien ships on the screen. They were beautiful in their own way, but they also looked fragile compared to the massive human vessel. The Valiant had been built to last, with thick armor and powerful shields. These alien ships looked like they had never seen real combat. "Phoenix," Jake said, "can you analyze their technology?" "I've been conducting passive scans since we arrived," Phoenix replied. "Their ships use fusion engines similar to our old designs from the 2100s. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based, but much weaker than our current systems." Their shields are energy-based, but they would not be able to stop our quantum torpedoes. Jake felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that humanity still had the technological advantage, but sadness that they might need to use it. He had hoped that the future would be peaceful, that humanity would find friends among the stars. "Captain," Ben Parker said from his position at the communications console, "I'm picking up a transmission from the alien fleet. It's directed at us." Jake's heart raced. "They found us? It appears so, sir." "The transmission is in their language, but Phoenix is translating it now." The main screen flickered and text appeared at the bottom. Jake read the words with growing concern. "Unknown vessel, you are in violation of Galactic Council space. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Jake looked at his crew. This was the moment of truth. How they handled this first contact would determine the fate of humanity's future. "Open a channel," Jake ordered. "Channel open, sir," Ben replied. Jake straightened his uniform and faced the screen. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth vessel USS Valiant. We are peaceful explorers from the Sol system. We request permission to speak with your commanding officer." The response came quickly. The alien voice was high-pitched and musical, like singing birds. Phoenix's translation appeared on the screen. "Sol system? That is impossible. The humans of Sol died out over 200 years ago. You are either lying or you are pirates using a false identity." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "We are not pirates. We are humans, and we are very much alive. We have been displaced in time due to an experimental faster-than-light drive malfunction." There was a long pause before the next message came through. "Stand by for boarding. Do not attempt to flee or we will open fire." Jake looked at Lisa. "How long before they reach us?" "At their current speed, about 30 minutes, she replied. Jake made a decision that would change everything. "All right, we'll let them come aboard. But we're going to control this meeting. Ryan, I want security teams at all airlocks, but keep them hidden. Susan, I want you to prepare a briefing about human history. Alex, power down all non-essential systems. I want us to look less threatening than we actually are." "Sir, is that wise?" Lisa asked. "We need to buy time to understand what we're dealing with," Jake replied. "If we show them our full capabilities right away, they might panic and call for reinforcements. Better to let them think we're weak until we know more about their intentions." As the alien ship approached, Jake watched through the bridge windows. It was smaller than he had expected, with strange curves and angles that hurt to look at directly. The ship docked with the Valiant's main airlock with surprising gentleness. "Captain," Ryan reported from his security station, "3 aliens are coming aboard. They're wearing some kind of environmental suits, but I can see they're not human. They're tall, thin, and they move like they're walking underwater." Jake nodded. "Take them to conference room 7. Make sure they're comfortable, but keep our security teams ready." As Jake prepared to meet the first aliens humanity had encountered in over 3 centuries, he wondered what his crew would think of him if they knew the truth. The USS Valiant was not just an exploration ship. It was also carrying the genetic codes and cultural knowledge of Earth's entire population. They were not just survivors of a time accident. They were the last hope for humanity's future. The time for hiding was over. Now they would learn what had really happened to Earth and what role these aliens had played in humanity's supposed extinction. Jake Morrison walked slowly toward conference room 7, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. Behind him, Lisa Hayes and Dr. Susan Clark followed in silence. The moment they had all been waiting for was finally here. First contact with an alien species. Jake had dreamed about this moment for years, but never like this. The conference room was large and bright, with a long table in the center. 3 figures sat on the far side, and Jake had to stop himself from staring. The aliens were tall and thin, just like Ryan had described. Their skin was pale blue, almost white, and their eyes were large and dark. They wore tight-fitting suits that seemed to shimmer in the light. "I am Captain Jake Morrison," Jake said, sitting down across from the aliens. "Welcome aboard the USS Valiant." The alien in the center spoke first. His voice was high and musical, but Phoenix's translation made the words clear. I am Ambassador Zethkar of the Centauri Alliance. These are my assistants, Villaner and Kixtel. We represent the Galactic Council. Jake nodded politely. We appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. Time, Zethkar said, and Jake could hear something like laughter in his voice. Yes, time seems to be something you humans have had too much of. Tell me, Captain Morrison, how is it that you claim to be human when all humans died out over 200 years ago? Susan leaned forward. Ambassador, we were conducting an experimental faster-than-light test in the year 2089. Something went wrong with our drive system, and we were displaced in both time and space. We've been in cryogenic sleep for over 300 years. The three aliens looked at each other, and Jake could see they were communicating in some way he couldn't understand. Finally, Zethkar spoke again. Even if your story is true, it changes nothing. Human space now belongs to the Galactic Council. Your species had its chance and failed. We brought order to chaos, peace to war, and prosperity to these systems. What happened to Earth? Jake asked quietly. Earth is under the protection of the Draconis sector, Zethkar replied. It has been restored to its natural state. The damage your species caused has been repaired. It is now a preserved world, home to the plants and animals that existed before humans destroyed their environment. Jake felt his hands clench into fists under the table. Are you telling me that Earth has been emptied? Cleaned, Zethkar. Corrected. The Galactic Council decided that Earth was too valuable to leave in ruins. Your species was already extinct, so we restored it to its proper condition. Lisa spoke for the first time. And what about the humans who might have been living elsewhere? Colony worlds, space stations, exploration ships? All gone, Velener said. The last human colonies surrendered to Council forces in 2197. They were offered the choice of integration or relocation. Most chose relocation to the Outer Rim territories. Jake's mind raced. Integration or relocation? That sounded like the aliens had given humans a choice between slavery and exile. And if there had been colonies that survived until 2197, then humanity hadn't died out naturally. They had been conquered. Where were these humans relocated? Susan asked. That information is classified, Zethkar said. But I can tell you that they were given worlds suitable for their needs. The Council is not cruel. Jake stood up slowly. Ambassador, I need to be honest with you. The USS Valiant is not just an exploration ship. It's also a warship designed to protect humanity against threats in deep space. We carry weapons and defensive systems that are far more advanced than anything your people have. The aliens looked at each other again, and Jake could see worry in their large eyes. Are you threatening us, Captain? Zethkar asked. Not at all, Jake replied. I'm simply explaining our situation. We're not some primitive species that stumbled into space. We're the descendants of the humans who built the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. And now we're back. Kixtel spoke for the first time. Your ship is large, but it is only one vessel. The Galactic Council has thousands of ships and controls hundreds of worlds. What can one human ship do against such power? Jake smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Phoenix, show our guests the tactical display. The room's main screen came to life, showing a detailed scan of the alien ships outside. The display showed their armor thickness, weapon strength, shield power, and engine capabilities. Every weakness was highlighted in red. Your shields couldn't stop our weakest weapons, Jake said calmly. Your armor would be like paper against our plasma cannons. Your engines are so slow that you couldn't run away if you wanted to. This isn't a threat, Ambassador. It's just a fact. Zethkar stood up quickly, his face showing fear for the first time. You cannot attack us. We are diplomats. We have immunity. Under Council law. I have no intention of attacking you, Jake said, but I want you to understand something. Humanity didn't die out. We evolved, we transcended, and now we're back to reclaim what was always ours. The aliens were silent for A long moment. Finally, Zethkar spoke again. What do you want? First, I want the location of every human settlement in the galaxy. Second, I want to know exactly what happened to Earth. Third, I want to speak with the leaders of this Galactic Council. And fourth, I want safe passage for any humans who choose to join us. That is impossible, Velinar said. The Council will never agree to such demands. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the alien ships. Then I suppose we'll have to convince them. Phoenix, send a message to the Council leadership. Tell them that humanity has returned and we want to talk. Message sent, Captain, Phoenix replied. Jake turned back to the aliens. Gentlemen, I suggest you return to your ships and inform your superiors about our conversation. Tell them that the USS Valiant is just the beginning. Where there's one human ship, there are always more. It was a bluff, but Jake delivered it with complete confidence. The aliens didn't need to know that the Valiant was alone. They just needed to believe that humanity was still a force to be reckoned with. As the aliens prepared to leave, Zethkar stopped at the door. Captain Morrison, you should know that the Council has weapons you cannot imagine. If you try to challenge us, you will be destroyed. Jake looked the ambassador in the eye. Ambassador, you should know that humans have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and the death of our home world. We don't scare easily. After the aliens left, Jake stood alone in the conference room, staring out at the stars. The game had begun, and humanity was finally back in play. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened on Nexus Prime, the capital world of their vast empire. Chairman Vortash, a massive reptilian being with scales that shifted from green to brown, slammed his clawed hand on the council table. The sound echoed through the great chamber where representatives from 12 different species had gathered. This is impossible, Vortash hissed, his yellow eyes glowing with anger. Humans have been extinct for over 2 centuries. How can a human warship simply appear in our space? Ambassador Zethkar stood nervously before the council. His pale, blue skin had turned almost white with fear. Chairman, I have seen them with my own eyes. They are definitely human, and their ship is unlike anything we have encountered before. Fleet Admiral Crexion, a tall insectoid being with 4 arms and compound eyes, clicked his mandibles together. One ship cannot threaten the entire council. I recommend we destroy it immediately and end this problem. Admiral, Zethkar said quickly, their weapons are far more advanced than ours. Their ships scanned our entire fleet in seconds and identified every weakness we have. They knew things about our technology that even we don't know. The council chamber fell silent. For 400 years, the Galactic Council had been the supreme power in this part of the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds, enslaved primitive species, and divided the resources of space among themselves. The idea that a single ship could challenge them was unthinkable. Show us the scan data, Vortash commanded. The chamber's main display came to life, showing the detailed analysis that the USS Valiant had performed on the Council fleet. The data was so precise that it even showed the stress fractures in their ship hulls and the efficiency ratings of their power systems. By the void, whispered Counselor Nithara, a graceful being with tentacles instead of arms. They know everything about us. Meanwhile, aboard the USS Valiant, Jake Morrison stood in the ship's massive data center with Kate Davis, the science officer. Kate was a young woman with bright red hair and an incredible gift for understanding complex information. She had been working for hours analyzing the data that Phoenix had collected from the alien ships. Captain, Kate said, her voice filled with excitement and worry, I've found something important. The alien ships aren't just using old human technology. They're using stolen human technology. Jake leaned over her shoulder to look at the display. What do you mean? Look at these engine designs, Kate said, pointing to the screen. They're based on fusion technology that humans developed in the 2150s, and these shield generators are modified versions of our old defensive systems. They didn't develop this technology themselves, they took it from us. Jake felt a cold anger growing in his chest. Are you saying they stole our technology after they conquered us? That's exactly what I'm saying, Kate replied. Captain, I think the Galactic Council didn't just relocate the humans. I think they used us. They took our technology, our knowledge, maybe even our people, and then claimed we were extinct. At that moment, Ryan Cooper's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Outer Rim. It's on an old human frequency. Jake ran to the bridge, his heart racing. If there was a human transmission, it meant that somewhere out there, other humans were still alive. Ben Parker was already working at the communications console when Jake arrived. Play the message, Jake ordered. A man's voice filled the bridge, speaking in clear English. This is Matt Stevens, Colonial Administrator of New Terra. If any human vessels are receiving this transmission, please respond. We are in desperate need of assistance. The Council fleet is moving toward our system, and we don't have the weapons to defend ourselves. Jake grabbed the communications microphone. New Terra, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Valiant. We are human, and we are here to help. What is your situation? The response came quickly, filled with relief and hope. Captain Morrison, thank God. We are a colony of 50,000 humans living in the Kepler system. We've been hiding from the Council for over a century, but they finally found us. They're demanding that we surrender or be destroyed. Jake looked at his crew. Lisa Hayes was studying the star charts, calculating jump coordinates. Alex Turner was checking the ship's weapon systems. Everyone was ready for action. New Terra, how long do you have? Jake asked. The Council fleet will arrive in 6 hours. Matt Stevens replied. Captain, we have families here. Children, we can't fight them with the weapons we have. Jake made a decision that would change everything. New Terra, this is what we're going to do. We're going to jump to your system and deal with the Council fleet. But first, I need you to send a message to every human settlement in the galaxy. Tell them that the USS Valiant has returned and humanity is no longer hiding. Captain, Lisa said quietly, we don't know how many Council ships are in that fleet. It could be hundreds. Jake looked out at the stars. Then we'll show them why humans don't surrender. Amy Foster, the tactical officer, looked up from her station. Captain, I've been analyzing the alien weapons from the diplomatic meeting. Their plasma cannons are powerful, but they're designed to fight other aliens, not humans. Our armor can absorb their energy weapons, and our shields are strong enough to stop their missiles. What about their numbers? Jake asked. Numbers don't matter if their weapons can't hurt us, Amy replied. It's like bringing 1,000 knives to a gunfight. Jake sat down in his captain's chair. Phoenix, prepare for a faster-than-light jump. Destination, Kepler system, all crew to battle stations. As the ship's alarm sounded, 50,000 humans prepared for their first battle in over 3 centuries. They were going to save their people, and they were going to show the galaxy that humanity was far from extinct. The USS Valiant disappeared in a flash of light, leaving the Vega system empty. But across the galaxy, human settlements were receiving Matt Stevens' message. For the first time in centuries, humans were no longer alone. They had a protector, a guardian, and a symbol of hope. The age of hiding was over. The age of human resurgence had begun. The USS Valiant emerged from faster-than-light travel in the Kepler system like a giant awakening from sleep. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching as the massive ship's sensors swept the area around New Terra. What he saw made his blood run cold. 200 Council warships surrounded the small human colony world. The alien fleet was arranged in perfect attack formation, their weapons pointed at the planet below. On the surface, 50,000 humans waited in terror for the bombardment to begin. Captain, Ben Parker called from the communications station. I'm receiving a transmission from the Council fleet. They're ordering us to surrender immediately. Jake looked at the alien ships on his display screen. Each one was smaller than the Valiant, but together they represented the largest military force the galaxy had seen in centuries. Any normal species would have run away or begged for mercy. Open a channel to the entire Council fleet, Jake ordered. Channel. Open, sir, Ben replied. Jake straightened his uniform and spoke with calm confidence. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Valiant. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system or face the consequences. The response came quickly from Fleet Admiral Crexion. Human, you are outnumbered 200 to 1. Surrender now, and we will make your death quick. Jake smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, you have 20 seconds left. On the surface of New Terra, Matt Stevens watched the sky through his command center's windows. The alien ships looked like angry stars waiting to rain. Death on his people. But above them all, the USS Valiant hung in space like a protective shield. All civilians to the shelters, Matt ordered his staff. This is about to get very loud. Back on the Valiant's bridge, Jake watched the countdown timer reach 0. The Council fleet had not moved. They were calling his bluff, expecting him to back down when faced with impossible odds. Amy, Jake said to his tactical officer, show them what humanity can do. Amy Foster's fingers danced across her controls. Quantum torpedoes armed. Plasma cannons charging. Shields at maximum power. The first Council ship to fire was a massive dreadnought from the Draconis sector. Its weapons lit up the darkness of space, sending streams of energy toward the human vessel. The plasma bolt struck the Valiant's shields and simply disappeared, absorbed without even causing a flicker. Our turn, Jake said quietly. The USS Valiant's response was swift and terrible. Quantum torpedoes streaked through space, each one carrying enough energy to destroy a small moon. The first torpedo hit the dreadnought's shields and tore through them like paper. The second torpedo punched through the alien ship's armor and exploded inside its engine room. The massive Council warship broke apart in a ball of fire and metal. Pieces of debris scattered across the battlefield, and the other alien ships suddenly realized they were facing something far beyond their understanding. All ships, attack the human vessel, Admiral Crexion screamed over the communications channel. Destroy it now. The entire Council fleet opened fire at once. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Valiant. The space around the human ship became a storm of light and explosions. For a moment, it seemed like no ship could survive such an assault. But when the light faded, the USS Valiant was still there, completely undamaged. Its shields had absorbed every attack without even weakening. The alien weapons were like raindrops against a mountain. Phoenix, Jake said calmly, activate the quantum cannon array. Quantum cannons online, Captain, Phoenix replied. The Valiant's main weapons charged with a sound like thunder. Along the ship's 15-kilometer hull, weapon ports opened to reveal cannons that glowed with contained energy. These were weapons designed to fight enemies that humanity had never encountered, powered by technology that the aliens couldn't even imagine. Fire, Jake ordered. The quantum cannons fired in sequence, each blast creating a line of pure energy that stretched across space. The alien ships didn't just explode when hit. They simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered across the void. In 30 seconds, 50 Council warships were gone. The remaining alien fleet tried to run, but their engines were too slow. The Valiant's weapons had a range of millions of kilometers, and the human ship could fire while moving at faster than light speeds. One by one, the Council ships were hunted down and destroyed. Admiral Crexion's flagship was the last to die. As his ship's hull cracked and fire spread through the corridors, he sent one final message to the Galactic Council. The humans have returned, he said, his voice filled with terror. They are not the same species we conquered. They are something else now, something more. The message ended when his ship exploded. Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, looking out at the empty space where the Council fleet had been. Around him, his crew worked quietly, checking systems and preparing for whatever came next. The battle had lasted less than an hour, but it would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries. Captain, Ben Parker said, I'm receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Human settlements are coming out of hiding. They're all asking the same question, what do we do now? Jake thought for a moment. For 300 years, humans had been scattered, hidden, and afraid. They had survived by staying quiet and avoiding attention. But that time was over. Send a message to every human settlement, Jake said. Tell them to prepare for a new age. We're going home. On the surface of New Terra, Matt Stevens and his people watched as the alien debris burned up in their atmosphere like falling stars. The threat was over, but more importantly, they were no longer alone. "Open a channel to the USS Valiant," Matt ordered. "Channel open, sir," his communications officer replied. "Captain Morrison, this is New Terra. We can never thank you enough." "For what you've done?" Jake's voice came back, warm and strong. "No thanks needed, Matt. We're all human here. And from now on, we stick together." Over the next few days, the news of the Council fleet's destruction spread throughout the galaxy. On worlds that had been under alien rule for centuries, people began to whisper about the return of humanity. The Galactic Council, faced with the loss of their most powerful fleet, offered to negotiate. Jake Morrison became the first human president of the new Galactic Assembly, leading not through conquest but through the respect that came from strength. The alien species that had once divided human space among themselves now served as junior partners in a new age of exploration and discovery. The USS Valiant, no longer alone, became the flagship of a growing human fleet. Other ships, hidden for centuries, emerged from the darkness to join their ancient companion. Earth was reclaimed and restored, becoming once again the center of human civilization. And in the depths of space, sensors detected something new approaching. From beyond the galaxy's edge, whatever was coming, humanity would be ready. They had learned that sometimes the best way to keep the peace was to be prepared for war. The age of human hiding was over. The age of human leadership had begun,